Good afternoon. My name is Roberto Troya. I'm the Regional Director for Latin America and the Caribbean for WWF. And I'm joined by Dr. Kirsten Schuit. She's the Director General of WWF International. On my left, I have Lucy Aquino. She's the Country Director of WWF Paraguay. And on her left, we have Mr. Carter Roberts. He's the President and CEO of WWF US. Both our colleagues represent what we call the secretariat of our organization and the larger network. It is a pleasure to be with all of you this afternoon. We have 60 people joining us online representing different media from the 3 countries and from all over the region and probably the world. And it's an honor to be here in this launch of this fantastic initiative that encompasses the work happening in 3 countries that are the custodians of this incredible wetland, one of the largest wetlands in the world, called Pantanow. This is the largest wetland in the world, and it encompasses a fantastic array of peoples, cultures, biodiversity, water, and many other things that are part of this wonderful biome, this wonderful part in the world. This event called Pantanow, which resembles the actual pronunciation of Pantanal, talks about action. Pantanow, it's a call to action on what needs to happen in Pantanal. And we invite people who are joining us in this room. We have people from all over the Latin American region, but from parts of Africa, Asia, and Europe joining us in this fantastic launch in the occasion of our regional meeting happening here in Buenos Aires in Argentina. I would like to ask that there's going to be a QR code that you will see, and in this QR code we will have a question for you. And the question is, what does Pantanal represent for you? ¿Qué representa el Pantanal para nosotros? Please use your QR code and put your answer, and we're going to go at the end, we're going to show you a little bit of what you have provided, a little bit as a surprise. So take your time, use the QR code, and use 2 words, just 2 words to describe what Pantanal represents for you, and share it in that screen that you're opening right now. And while you do that, we're going to start in 20 seconds a video that will bring you down to this wonderful part of the world, and will give you the context of what we're doing in the 3 countries where WWF has a fantastic presence. That's Brazil, Paraguay, and Bolivia. Our presence and the work that we do in that fantastic region. At the end of the event, we will check your contributions that you have already placed in this QR code, and we'll share it with you. So with that, I would like to invite a video that will show this part of the world.
In the heart of South America lies a natural treasure that transcends borders. Welcome to the Pantanal. The largest continuous freshwater wetland in the world that is shared by Brazil, Bolivia, and Paraguay. A unique ecosystem, internationally recognized for supporting the lives of more than 4,700 species. Around 10 million people benefit from its ecosystem services for water, food, and livelihoods. Despite Despite its 172,000 square kilometers extension, the Pantanal is threatened by new infrastructure, land conversion and deforestation, forest fires and pollution that put the free flow of our rivers at risk. In Brazil alone, 74% of the Pantanal's surface water has been lost in the last 30 years. We are facing a critical moment for this great biodiverse landscape. But not all is lost. WWF Bolivia, Brazil, and Paraguay, together with local partners, producers, communities, and the public sector, have developed the Eco-Regional Action Plan, a strategy that until 2030 seeks to achieve a marshland whose rivers flow freely, resilient to climate change, free of deforestation and conversions, with the commitment of all sectors to its conservation. It's time to act. It's the Pantanal's time. Pantanal now. Join the request, because together we can protect it, protect ourselves, and protect our future. Pantanow.
Thank you so much. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to, is this working? Yes? Gratitude to the team that has put together this wonderful video that really tells the story. Those images reflect what Pantanal is. But the call to action, Pantanow, Pantanal ahora. We need to move and move fast. And we have, as I told you at the beginning, we have invited the highest representatives of our network in this, to this launch. And we're going to start with Mr. Carter Roberts. He's the president and CEO of WWF US, who's going to share his wisdom. He has been in Pantanow several times, and he will like to share some of his thoughts about this launch.
Thanks, Roberto. The very first time I had a chance to visit this region was 35 years ago. I was a young pup at the Nature Conservancy, and I was part of a team that went into the Pantanow to work with a local NGO in purchasing two ranches, the Duroche and Acurizal ranches, that were high water areas where animals would go when this amazing place flooded each year. And we arrived at a very remote guard station. The mosquito netting was ripped. The cook had fled the day before and had gone downstream. The one park guard was there and seemed rather uninterested in us. But we brought provisions, and we went off and came back, and at the end of that day, the park guard had consumed the entire bottle of cachaça that we had brought for the trip, and it looked a little bleak. And as we spent time in this place, with the Victoria Amazonica, the world's largest giant water lily, giant anteaters with babies on their back, the first jaguars I have ever seen in the world, and clouds of hyacinth macaws and giant river otters, I thought, wow. All those inconveniences melted away. And I realized what a gift to be in this place that was so untouched. This is 35 years ago. And it became clear to me over time that at that time it seemed like, when is this ever going to be at risk? But it became clear to me, even as the government of Brazil professionalized the park management of that place, as I'm sure that that park station is in far better shape, that this place, just buying a few ranches is not going to cut it. And this is a system so vast, so amazing, so fundamental, that it was going to require far, far more than that. The Pantanow has got it all. It's got water. It has amazing forests, riverine forests. It has wildlife that is so abundant that when photographers come to the Amazon to film videos, they often end up going to the Pantanow to really capture what is, it's kind of the Serengeti of Latin America. And it is obvious that to keep this place intact, all the communities, all the system, that is not measured in hectares, it's measured in the flow of water, that this place is very much part of what links this continent together, as is the Amazon. And yet the Amazon gets the vast majority of the world's attention, but this place is amazing. I've since been back a few times and recently was asked by Lucy to be a part of another session for this extraordinary resource. And like the Amazon, the only way this place will be fully saved is if nations come together and parts of WWF come together to do things that have never been done before. I love this initiative. I am devoted to making this initiative succeed. And I can't think of, in addition to the Amazon, a more unifying thing for this continent to come together around than to keep this, the largest wetland in the world, intact. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Carter. And it's a pleasure and an honor to introduce Kirsten Schuit. She's the Director General of WWF, the Global Network, and it's a pleasure to have you here in Argentina joining us for this launch. So over to you, Kirsten.
Great, thank you.
It is on. It is on.
Yeah, great. So, number one, it's great to be here, and I know that we were supposed to launch this a while back, and actually this is so much better because we're all in person. I remember that was a virtual meeting, and was really looking forward to being part of that. So very, very happy that I get to be part of the regional meeting and part of the launch in person. Not many people know, but when I started in conservation, my background is very much in wetland conservation. So I spent many years in Africa working on wetlands, first in Kenya on the border with Uganda, and then later in Malawi on the border towards Mozambique. And it was all about wetlands. I spent years working in those wetlands, especially with local communities, and studying what was then very fashionable on the economic values of wetlands, and ended up doing my PhD on that, my dissertation. So it is where I learned to do conservation, because wetlands are the most diverse ecosystems on this planet, not just for biodiversity. I think what really struck me is how incredibly dependent people are on those wetlands for everything they do. In those wetlands in Africa, it was, people who used the clay to make the walls of their houses, the reeds to thatch their roofs, the water to bathe, to drink, and so forth. And the Pantanow, being the world's largest wetland, you can imagine how excited I am about this place. When I was, with WWF Netherlands, we spent also a lot of time and effort working with all three countries on the Pantanow. It's something we feel very passionate about for all the reasons that we've seen in the video. So I'm really proud of this launch. I love the action in the title. And I think I just want to highlight the sense of urgency that we all feel around this. This is such an incredibly important part of our work. It's such an incredibly important part of our planet. And moving into action will require close collaboration between all stakeholders, because water knows no borders. It flows across all three countries and beyond. So it will require strong collaboration between the three countries, but also with the local communities who live there, but also with the huge sectors that sit outside the Pantanow who have a massive impact on this wetland globally, including parts in the world where I live. So working through those supply chains and making sure that we keep the Pantanow safe for future generation will be incredibly important, and I think the Pantanow is a great initiative to help build that urgency and collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we recognize that we have many more people that have joined online. We have 100 people who are joining us for this launch, and I welcome our colleagues from media and from many other outlets who are ready to support this launch. So thank you so much for coming. Now it's my pleasure to pass the torch to Lucy Aquino. She's our country director for WWF Paraguay. She has been our champion. She's a person who is really moving the needle, as they say, in terms of the work, together with other colleagues who are going to join us in a second. They're really portraying the power of working together and collaboration. So over to you, Lucy.
Thank you, Roberto. Can you hear me very well? I'm really glad to be here. This has been an amazing meeting. It's continued being an amazing meeting. I would like to thank you, first of all, to Fundación Vida Silvestre. Thank you for all of you, all amazing team. And Manuel have been spoiling us too much. Greetings, really greetings to the Pantanow. The Pantanow is an amazing ecoregion that provides ecosystem services to a great large area in South America, including the Rio de la Plata river system, which is the third largest watershed in South America. We are really pleased to have you here, and here we are together to restore and conserve the Pantanow, and also to avoid a tipping point. Because as the Amazon, we are going to be getting the reflux of the Pantanow if we don't take care of those two amazing ecoregions. And we invite you all here present, and also in the people in Zoom, to please support us in this amazing adventure that started several years ago, but now more than ever, we need you because the threat is increasing. And thank you so much to the donors. We have several donors. I'm not going to mention all of them, but thank you. We depend on you, and also thank you for being here, a lot of you.
So now I would like to invite our country directors from Bolivia and Brazil, Mr. Mauricio Voivodic. He's the CEO of WWF Brazil, and Mr. Samuel Sangüesa, he's the CEO of WWF Bolivia, to join us here in this stage.
Just a glimpse into the Pantanow. The Pantanow have about 172 square kilometers. It's one of the largest wetlands in the world and have a lot of biodiversity. Also, we have 6 Ramsar sites, some of the largest in the world. Next, please. I want to tell you some of the story about how our team was evolving. We started in 1968 with Brazil, a little later with Bolivia, with the creation of 2 protected areas, Otuquis and San Matias, also some of the largest national park in our region. Since the beginning, we focus on the threats. Next, please. Since the beginning, we focus on the threats, and we are really especially working on the forest fires since especially 2019, where we share the biggest forest fire in the region. Also with Bolivia, Brazil, and Paraguay. We also gathered together and with our forest fire and with a lot of help from other regions, we were able to finish with what we left, what we saw after the fire, it needed to restore. Next. In the three countries together, we have 12 years of regional project program and partners with CSOs in the Upper Paraguay River system. The initiative PACHA for Pantanal Chaco, Paraguay and Bolivia work with 7 CSO organizations to protect the international public resources in the Upper Paraguay River Basin. With other transboundary initiatives, the three countries promoted the exchange of experience of park rangers. Next, please. This group photo shows a meeting held in Bolivia, including Bolivia, Brazil, and Paraguay, and also the Fundación Vida Silvestre Argentina. We are collaborating in the first transboundary identification of jaguar connectivity corridor involving academia, experts in wildlife management, CSOs organization, ranchers, and the protected area system especially. Since 2021, Bolivia and Paraguay have a total of 420 wildlife monitoring stations in the Chaco, Cerrado, and Pantanal to address different knowledge gaps of the jaguar population. Like you see, maybe you see each other in this picture. A lot of you participated in this meeting that was held in Bolivia, I think it was last year. Well, starting with Paraguay, next. Since we started working in the Pantanal in Paraguay, we have focused on food system, and it was clear to us that the land use planning was one of our major priority. Therefore, we have 4 land use planning in the area of the Cerrado, Chaco, and Pantanal. And you can see the green is the municipality of Bahía Negra, is the second largest municipality in Paraguay. Also, we have POT, we call it land use planning for Philadelphia, which is in the center of the Chaco, and also we have land use planning for Carmelo Peralta and Puerto Casado. All these areas was very important for us to have a land use planning because the development is happening. It's happening more ports, the dredging of the Rio Paraguay, also the Bio-Oceanica that is going to go all the way from the Atlantic Ocean, crossing this area all the way to Chile. So what is very important for us is the implementation now of this land use planning. Next. Also now, we have been working in the same area with 6 national parks, with funding from the European Union and also the German bank, the KfW, and we are protecting close to 1.7 million hectares, and we have a great opportunity here to build a PFP for the protection of 6 of the most threatened national parks and monuments in this area. Next. We go to Bolivia or Brazil? Yes. Thank you. Now I give the floor to my friend Mauricio.
Thank you very much, Lucy. And I'd like to start by saying how important is this tri-national collaboration. Pantanal is such a unique ecosystem, but also such a complex context, the political context, and most of the threats that affect Pantanow are very much transboundary. Same actors sometimes, same drivers of degradation, same incentives for some of the drivers of degradation. So it's extremely important that we do that. And even though we've been working together, the three offices, for many years, and that's a very pleasure for us to be part of this, I also love the new framing of Pantanow, because this call to action is extremely important. Unfortunately, as Roberto said, it's comparable that the risks that Pantanow is facing in terms of getting to a point of no return is similar to the Amazon. In Pantanow, it's the hydrological function that is at risk. And it's very important that we scale up and we go to another level in terms of our work in emergency, because that's extremely, we are in a moment of emergency and high risk for the whole ecosystem to actually collapse. So I really think that Pantanow is a call to action for us to go to another level. Next one, please. So we have our strategy that is always in complementarity with Bolivia and Paraguay. So you see the slides, the pillars of the strategies are very similar. We do in Brazil, in WWF Brazil, a lot of work on restorations, and the heads of Pantanow is our key focus region for restoration project. Restoration is that kind of thing that if you do just a small pilot here and there isn't really a big added value in terms of conservation. So we try to focus all the efforts in one or maximum two regions, and heads of Pantanow is one of them because of the whole hydrological function system. So we have all the mapping and the science to identify where are the key priority places in the heads of Pantanow that need to be restored, and then we work with private sector and public sector to restore those things, and we are really advancing very well on that, and that's a lot to do still, but restoration is a key component of the strategy. In terms of fires, it's so sad to see what's happening in Pantanow. The fires became really a climate emergency. The drought in Pantanow and the level of fires. Only in Brazil, the fire this year, that's happening as we speak, has burned already 1 million hectares. So that's extremely serious. You see the video. So resilience of the ecosystem to face those fire seasons. Fire is somehow a natural trend, but not at that scale in Pantanow. So we've been working with local governments, local partners, fire brigades, not only to stop fire when they start, but to prevent fire. So doing fire management as well with local farmers and ranchers and local communities has been a critical piece in the strategy. Next one, please. In terms of biodiversity, we have jaguar as a flagship species, and we're part of this WWF network on protection of jaguar. But really mapping, understanding how the population, what's the dynamic of the population in the ecosystem, and creating corridors, and that's also a key factor for our restoration work. So we use jaguar as a flagship, but we are looking to a whole diversity of different species and working for their protection. In terms of protected areas, also as Lucy mentioned, we've been working with different protected areas, also advocating for the creation, but also for the good management of protected areas, and it's extremely important. They play a very important role on this, as I said, the hydrological function of Pantanow. Some of the protected areas are located in places that are critical for the whole ecosystem. So having them well protected, well managed is extremely important. Next one, please. And then, of course, we do, and this is something very interesting that happens also transboundary, but working in water governance. And so there is a very large network of different organizations, different players, a multi-stakeholder network that works on water governance. And that's extremely important also from a perspective of avoiding big infrastructure projects that have been planned and have been tried to put in Pantanow. So understanding how those infrastructure will impact on water and on the hydrological function of Pantanow is key. So this is also a kind of work that is about governance, but has a lot to do with policy and advocacy as well. So building on science, on analysis, we bring proposals or we demonstrate that those infrastructure projects are going to be devastating for the hydrological function of Pantanow. And this is always happening. So here and there are ups and downs of different governments or different tentatives of passing new hydrological, hydrovias, hydroelectric new dams, and this kind of thing will be a tragedy for Pantanow. So keeping up on advocacy in that region, and that's always also for the three countries, not only one country, is critical, even though it's very complex, but it's something that we need to be always on top of. So I think that's it from me, and I'll pass the floor to Samuel.
Thank you very much, Mauricio, Lucy, colleagues, friends, pantaneros, pantaneras. It's really wonderful to be here and to share this space in the launching of Pantanow. I think one of the big challenges that we all realize is that the magnitude of the challenge that we see ahead really requires collaboration. And I think the network is at its best when countries work together, and when countries like Brazil, Paraguay, and Bolivia have support from different partners of the network, and we can really drive for the change that we need. And the change, but it's not only a collaboration among WWF offices, but it's also bringing other players, key players into this equation. And I think, Mauricio, the point you made is very powerful, because as you remember, back in 2018, WWF was instrumental in the signature of the Pantanal Declaration for the conservation and sustainable development of precisely the Pantanal. And this was like a transformational moment, Roberto, because countries agreed to something. So from then on, whatever countries do on this, on Pantanal, follows the logics of that agreement. So the capacity of the network to reach governments, but at the regional level, I think is very powerful, and is something that we're very proud, and something that you are all part of, and it's something to celebrate in our efforts to preserve Pantanal. What I have for you is just some information on the Bolivian piece of Pantanal. One of the key elements of our strategy is protecting nature, is protecting Pantanal, and the key contributions, I think, of Bolivia for Pantanal are precisely protected areas. If you just look at the map right there, there are over 4 million hectares of big protected areas in Pantanal that were created with support from WWF. Few years ago, and now they're an integral part of our PFP effort, also for permanence of funding and local ownership of those protected areas in the place. But it's not only protected areas, I think it's also, on the Bolivian side, is also river basins. There's the Tucabaca Basin that runs through those protected areas, and we are doing a lot of work in restoration of riparian forests and connecting these to nature-based solutions. So I think if I ask you to remember something of Pantanal in Bolivia, I think it's its contribution connected to protected areas and to this part of our strategy. And of course, the other piece is the livelihoods, as Kirsten was saying, wetlands provide livelihoods for people, and there are a lot of amazing experiences of actually seeing nature and people thriving together in Pantanal, as the images you see of the pantaneros, of people doing sustainable livestock, and much more to say. But thank you, just a glimpse of our work in Bolivia as well.
And we want to thank you, colleagues and friends. Your work is inspiring. and really connects us all. The work of the three countries is incredible. And I just want to welcome more people who have joined the Zoom call. Now we have close to 160 people joining us for this launch. So thank you for joining us. Now, after I thank my colleagues, I would like to share with you a video that will explain itself. Let's go with that. I think the video is coming in a second. There you go.
WWF supports transboundary efforts to conserve the Pantanow, the world's largest tropical wetland. The Pantanow has over 4,700 species of plants and animals, beautiful and unique species and key to the region's economic development. We must do all we can to protect the Pantanow, for nature and for people.
We need the Pantanow because it's life. The animals, the people, the water, it's everything.
The Pantanow lost nearly 82% of its surface water over 37 years. I've watched jaguars sleep, swim, hunt, and even mate all along the river's edge. Water is the beating heart of life in the Pantanow.
Ecotourism in the Pantanow generates significant revenue, providing economic benefits to local communities and promoting conservation awareness.
Protecting the Pantanow means preserving nature, supporting communities, and combating climate change. Let's commit to safeguarding this natural treasure for future generations.
I am proud that as WWF Network jointly, we can give the push to mobilize support, funding and upscaling of our efforts. We look forward to working together for the Panta now.
Pantanow holds the key to a nature-positive future, where ranchers have adapted their ways to fertile floods that support the greenest of pastures while sharing their land with the mighty jaguar. We cannot lose Pantanow. We need to act now.
Pantanow is the largest wetland in the world. And water is life. Life for the Pantanow, life for the region, life for the continent. So, for people, for nature, we need the Pantanow.
We need the Pantanow as it connects nature, people, countries and biomes. It is the source of life in the region and unique in the world. Let's work together for the Pantanow.
Thank you. Thank you to our Avatar colleagues that have joined us in sharing their thoughts about this wonderful world of Pantanow. Then I would like to present another video that talks about the success stories, or I think success stories that I think, let me double check if this is the one that I have up front. There you go.
Veo que el cambio climático últimamente afecta bastante.
La mayor problemática ambiental que hemos tenido en nuestra comunidad ha sido la sequía. Primero los incendios, después de los incendios hubo la helada.
Así que lo que estamos haciendo nosotros es que como comunidades declararnos guardianes del agua, porque todavía tenemos descendencia, tenemos todavía niños atrás que necesitan vivir y seguir tomando el agua dulce que todavía tenemos dentro de nuestras comunidades. Porque queremos que estas aguas nos duren 100 años más. Si nosotros en nuestras comunidades no contamos con agua, no se produce, no hay alimento y lo más preocupante es que nuestras comunidades pueden desaparecer y es por eso que nosotros como mujeres luchamos incansablemente por el tema de que estamos buscando estrategias que puedan más bien salvar lo que son nuestros acuíferos.
Quando a gente fala de restauração da paisagem, tem vários elos, a gente fala que é uma cadeia da restauração. Então, um elo fundamental da cadeia da restauração é exatamente a coleta e a produção de sementes. E essas sementes elas podem ser tanto utilizadas na restauração diretamente, com a semeadura direta dessas sementes, que a gente pode chamar de muvuca também, que é uma técnica que mistura várias sementes no plantio, ou você pode trabalhar essa semente até ela virar uma mudinha e você plantar. E a gente tem trabalhado bastante aqui nessa região no sentido de oferecer capacitação, de fazer esse link entre diversas instituições e as comunidades para a gente fortalecer os diversos elos dessa cadeia da restauração.
Ao a gente proteger o solo, principalmente o solo, das matas ciliares ao redor, nas bordas desses córregos e desses rios, a gente vai estar propiciando ali uma água em quantidade e qualidade, o que é essencial para o abastecimento da população.
Tem casos até que tem alguns proprietários, algumas pessoas fecham, colocam cerca e deixam fazer uma recuperação natural. Mas a gente percebe que o processo é muito longo, né? Então a gente conversa com os proprietários, chega até as nascentes que são mais deficitárias, que estão mais precisando realmente de uma intervenção com mais urgência e começa a fazer um trabalho ali de recuperação ambiental.
Carmelo Peralta, la Puerta del Pantanal paraguayo, es un distrito que comparte frontera con Brasil. El mismo cuenta con un plan de ordenamiento urbano y territorial, más conocido como POUT, que fue desarrollado de manera participativa con el liderazgo del gobierno local y nacional, involucrando a todos los actores del territorio, entre ellos a las comunidades indígenas ayoreos y locales, con el acompañamiento de WWF y otras organizaciones de la sociedad civil. Aprobado en el 2023, el POUT marca un hito en la historia del Pantanal. Con el avance de grandes obras de infraestructura como la ruta bioceánica y el puente internacional que unirá a Paraguay con Brasil, el POUT garantiza que su crecimiento sea planificado, sostenible y ordenado. Además, para asegurar la integración, los pobladores solicitaron la creación de un instrumento que una a las comunidades y las culturas, y así se apoyó la elaboración de un diccionario cuatrilingüe ayoreo, castellano, guaraní, portugués.
El POUT sí es una guía para lograr la comunidad que queremos.
El POUT nos demuestra el poder del trabajo colaborativo, planifica el presente y proyecta un futuro sostenible, asegurando un desarrollo equilibrado que proteja los recursos naturales y mejore la calidad de vida de sus habitantes.
Thank you so much. I would like to give the floor very briefly to our two colleagues, because I'm going to ask Lucy at the end that you provide your final reflection. But I want to start with Samuel. Your reflections on what we just saw.
Sure, Roberto. I think the video for me speaks of our inclusive conservation approach, because you see stories about people. You have also seen the idea of understanding what is important for those people. You know, really listening to them, trying to understand their priorities, and then putting yourself in a position to say, well, how can we help? How we can add value to your preoccupations. And I think you see that. You see that in the planning in Paraguay, that people decided to do land planning, which was important for them. Or in Brazil, Mauricio, people deciding that they need to restore nature and you know, having training on seed collection and even generating jobs, because for you know, nurseries or plants, you need work, and sometimes that generates jobs. And the piece of Bolivia, I mean, really, the first time I saw that video, it gave me goosebumps, because that is a woman that identify the issue of water as their key concern, and their decision to create a protected area in a municipality in the Pantanow of Bolivia. And this Kirsten was supported by the Voices for Climate Action from the Netherlands, and it's one of the most inspiring results of women being very empowered, taking action and generating changes in policy for the creation of protected areas. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think it gets any better than that in my context, but I still get very hyped on this video, Roberto, so I just pass the mic to Mauricio.
Mauricio, you want to give us your reflections towards the end of this event?
Yeah, I think just as final words, I think this unique ecosystem is facing an urgency in terms of the threats. And I think our response needs to be in the same level. Otherwise, we're going to lose it. But our role is not to lead or to have our role is to convene and to collaborate. So I think that's the most important thing. In such a complex environment like Pantanow, and 3 countries, civil society from different countries, governments in each of the countries, also local governments, it's such a complex, and I think our role is really to talk to all of those players, including local communities, indigenous peoples, for this vision of a healthy Pantanow, for this vision that we don't need more of this large infrastructure. We need really to protect, to conserve, for the livelihood of those peoples. So I think the collaboration for me is the key word, and I think when we work together, we are expressing it, but our team that is there doing the work on a daily basis is every time, every day, collaborating with different players. And I'm really thankful for this collaboration spirit that we have in that region.
Fantastic. This is a great message, and thank you. Thank you for your great work. Before I give the floor to Lucy as the chair of the Pantanow work that we have on behalf of the 3 countries, I would like to show what you produced through the QR code. And we're going to show it in the screen in a second. That's the QR code, and that's the image that was created with your contributions and everybody else's. It talks about a wonderful mosaic of narratives, but they all speak about life, probably. That's the main message that I see there, and you can all see there. But that mosaic also represents people, diversity, water, of course, home, el hogar. Fantastic. Thank you so much for your contributions and for sharing what Pantanow represents for you. I want to thank our colleagues that have joined at a distance and that have joined this wonderful launch of Pantanow, ahora, Pantanal, ahora. And with that, I give the floor to Lucy Aquino, the CEO of WWF Paraguay.
Thank you so much, Roberto. And I would like to emphasize what just Mauricio told us, that the Pantanal is facing serious threats due to climate change, land use changes, developing of large infrastructure without good planning, while inequality and inequity keep increasing, and the poverty as well. We seek the great value of collaboration. We seek your help. We need to reach to millions and remind together to take advantage of the opportunity to prevent that the Pantanow avoid getting into the tipping point. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lucy. And with that, we close this event. And we thank you all for joining us. People and colleagues, we're closing down the Zoom, and thanks for joining us. Juntos es posible. Together is possible.